Have you ever wondered why some people absolutely love their jobs while others are just watching that clock, counting down the minutes till 5? Well, it all boils down to one thing: motivation. And you can think of it like a big puzzle. Some companies are just throwing pieces at the wall and hoping something sticks. But the really successful ones, they've figured out how to put it all together. Okay, let's dive into this and see how they do it. It really all starts with this simple but super powerful idea. Rich Sheridan, he co-founded a software company with the actual goal of creating joy. He believes that productivity isn't about spreadsheets and efficiency numbers, it's about people. And this quote, it just perfectly sets the stage. The goal isn't just to make people work, it's to build a place where they genuinely want to be, where they can thrive. So what are we really talking about when we say motivation? Well, here's the textbook definition. It's all those forces, inside you or outside, that get you fired up and keep you moving forward on something. And this stuff matters. It's not just fluff. It directly impacts productivity, performance, and a company's bottom line. Honestly, understanding these forces is probably a manager's most important job. Now, you can basically break these forces down into two big categories. On one side, you've got your intrinsic rewards. This is the stuff that comes from inside, that amazing feeling of a job well done, of learning something new. Then on the other side, you have extrinsic rewards. These are the things someone else gives you: the paycheck, the promotion, a pat on the back from your boss. The best workplaces, they know you need a healthy mix of both. All right, so for part one, let's dig into the why. What are the fundamental human needs that actually drive our actions at work? We're going to start by looking at a couple of classic theories that really lay out our internal wiring. And you just can't talk about needs without talking about Maslow. His whole idea is that our needs are stacked up like a pyramid, and you have to take care of the bottom levels before you can even think about the top ones. I mean, think about it, right? You're not going to be worried about creative fulfillment if you're stressed about making rent. Once you've got your salary and job security sorted, then you start looking for things like good coworkers, then recognition, and finally, you get to the very top, the chance to really grow and hit your full potential. Okay, let's try a little thought experiment. This question is a great way to frame our next big idea. Just think about it for a second. What are the absolute baseline things you need just to not completely despise going to work every single day? Your answer probably leads us right to Herzberg's theory. He called these things hygiene factors. We're talking about fair pay, a safe place to work, company rules that actually make sense. But here's the kicker. The really crucial part: having these things doesn't actually motivate you. It just stops you from being dissatisfied. They're like the price of admission, not the main event. So if all those hygiene factors just get you to neutral, what's on the other side of the coin? What are the things that actually make you jump out of bed in the morning, excited to get to work? And that's where Herzberg's motivators come in. This is where the magic happens. It's all about achievement, getting recognized for your work, having real responsibility and opportunities to grow. Think about this. One survey found that a whopping 60% of people said they were more motivated by recognition than by money. This just perfectly highlights the difference between not hating your job and truly loving it. Okay, so we've looked at what we need, those fundamental drivers. Now let's switch gears and get into the how. How do we do the mental math to decide if putting in the effort is actually worth it? This next part is all about the thought process that goes on behind the scenes. You do this, I do this, we all do this, whether we even realize it or not. We're constantly doing this little social calculation in our heads. We look at what we put into a job, our time, our skills, our effort, and then we look at what we get out of it. And then, and this is the key part, we look at the people around us and we compare our ratios. This nonstop, subconscious comparison, well, that's the heart of equity theory. And check this out for a wild, real-world example of this in action. Back in 2015, the CEO of a company called Gravity Payments made a huge announcement: a new minimum salary of $70,000 for everyone, from the senior developers right down to the person who just started in the mailroom. He figured it would create this incredibly happy, super motivated team. But that's not quite what happened. This quote just cuts right to the heart of the problem. Some of the company's most talented people actually started to leave. But why? Their sense of fairness, their equity was totally thrown out of whack. This developer felt like his high effort and specialized skills weren't being valued anymore compared to others. The perceived unfairness of it all just killed his motivation, even though he got a raise. So when that balance feels off, when we feel things are unfair, what do? Well, according to the theory, we take action. We might start slacking off a bit, change our work effort. We might go ask for a raise to change our outcome. Or we might just try to convince ourselves it's not a big deal. And if none of that works, well, like those employees at Gravity Payments, we might just leave and find a job where the balance feels right again.
Here's another way we do that mental math, and it's called expectancy theory. It's like this little 3-part checklist we run through in our heads. First, you ask, if I really try hard at this, can I actually pull it off? Then, okay, if I do succeed, am I actually going to get a reward? And finally, how much do I even want that reward? If the answer to any of those questions is not much, our motivation just tanks. All right, so we've covered the what and the how. For our final section, let's get practical. How can a manager take all of this theory and actually use it to design jobs that people find genuinely inspiring and engaging? Think of this as a blueprint or maybe a recipe for a really satisfying job. It's called the job characteristics model, and it gives us 5 key ingredients. Does the job let you use a bunch of different skills? Can you see a project through from start to finish? Does the work actually feel like it matters? Do you have the freedom to make your own calls? And do you get clear feedback on how you're doing? The more times you can say yes, the more motivating the job is going to be. And here is a perfect little story that shows just how powerful one of these keys, task significance, can be. In an experiment, all they did was put up a video feed so the kitchen cooks could actually see the customers they were serving. And that tiny change connected them to the impact of their work. All of a sudden, they weren't just flipping burgers, they were feeding people. And their job satisfaction just went through the roof. And when you get these 5 things right, when you combine them, you achieve what is basically the holy grail of the modern workplace: employee engagement. This isn't just about being happy. It's a deep emotional and mental state where people feel genuinely connected to their work, their team, and the company's bigger mission. And the difference engagement makes is, well, it's staggering. It's night and day. Just look at this. Among employees who are highly engaged, 91% feel like their opinions actually count at work. For disengaged employees, that number plummets to just 13%. That massive gap is just a huge, tragic loss of potential, creativity, and passion. So after all of that, after all the theories, the pyramids, the calculations, and the job design models, what does it all come down to? It's this. The single biggest difference maker in whether people feel motivated and engaged at work is the behavior of their direct manager, plain and simple. It's the manager who gives recognition, who makes sure things are fair, who carves out meaningful work, and who gives their team a voice. Which really just leaves us with one final thought for you to take with you. Based on everything we've just talked about, if you had the power to redesign a job, maybe your own, maybe somebody else's, what's the one single thing you would change to make it more meaningful, to boost its significance, its autonomy, or that connection to the bigger picture? Which piece of the motivation puzzle would you put in place first?